Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of My Beautiful Chaos with Misty Fitch of Fearfully Made Ministries. It has been a while, and I owe you the second part of the pressures of parenting. So this is the second part of the pressures of parenting. We have talked about the pressures that come with basically like peer pressure on what everyone is doing and the fear of missing out and just the pressure that people put on us as parents to do for our kids. This one is going to focus more on fighting our kids' fights and letting our kids fail, because it is a conversation that I feel like I have with people often. After teaching for so many years, it's something that it seems like over the years I started seeing it more and more with my students, where the students no longer took responsibility for anything. And it's not just their fault, it's not their parents' fault. It's how schools are handling everything nowadays. Because now we have grades right there so the parents can see it as soon as they're put in. We have email available so the parents can email as soon as they see the grade and they don't like the grade and they need to contact you to find out what's going on and how can we fix it. There's too much hands-on when it comes with parents and school. Sorry if that steps on toes, but I think that in this pressures of parenting, it's just inevitable that I'm going to step on people's toes. As a teacher, I loved the idea of the parents being involved, but I wasn't a parent when that first started. And so I didn't see really the effects that was going to have on kids until the more years I taught, the more effects I saw on the kids. It was like they didn't have to remember anything. As far as when things are due, what is happening, they did not have to remember anything because the parents were given all the information. High school seniors, y'all. I taught 8th grade to high school seniors, and even the seniors didn't know how to handle due dates and they always depended on their parents to remind them, hey, this is due next week. You have a test on Thursday. Okay, so school is not where I want to stay right now. I want to go into just regular everyday life, and I know it's hard. Keep in mind, I am a parent, and I am not an expert, but I'm a parent, and I taught in the high school for 15 years. It is to your kids' detriment if you jump in and do not let them fail and do not let them get hurt and do not let them fight their own fight. And when I mean fight their own fight, I don't mean physically. I just mean when conflict comes, they need to know how to handle it, whether it's a little conflict or a really big conflict. Now, don't get me wrong. Don't hear what I'm not saying, because there are some times that as a parent, you need to step in when you see some wrong happening to your child that is more than what your child can handle. Then yes, you step in. But for the most part, if they have a bad grade, let them step in. If they're having problems with their friends, if a friend is being mean to them or said something mean, or if they got in a fight, parents, don't call the other parent to try to get it fixed. Let them figure it out, because they're not going to learn conflict resolution if they're never allowed the opportunity to do it. And the same goes for failing. When your child fails, they get to feel what failure feels like, and they start for the most part, they realize they don't like that feeling of failure, and they want to do something about it. So then they have to think, what do I need to do about it to fix it so that I'm not failing? And that can be anything. I know you're probably immediately thinking school, but at anything, they need to fail so that they can figure out how to do better next time. Because if you're constantly there to tell them, then they're never going to know how to do it on their own, because you're not going to be with them when they are 35 years old and find themselves failing at something. They need to know how to handle it on their own. The same thing with being hurt. We try so hard to keep our children from hurting that we basically put them in a bubble. And we tend to blame others if they get hurt. And sometimes it's others' fault, but sometimes it's a mixture of the two. And our kids, not any of our kids are perfect. So they could be hurt because they did something stupid, right? Or is it just me? Because I have 3 boys, and I can tell you, they do the dumbest things sometimes, but they learn not to do it again. And that's kind of that's what I'm talking about. They learn from those mistakes. They learn from the pain. Think about when you had your first crush, or when you dated the first person you ever dated and you got your heart broken. As a parent, you don't ever want to see your kid get their heart broken, but they learn. They learn what it feels like to have a heart broken, so they can be empathetic when someone else gets their heart broken, and one day they're going to have children whose hearts get broken. And if we never allow our kids to feel that, then they're not going to be able to relate to their own children if they feel that. So I know that there is a huge pressure on not letting your kids fail. Parents, we put so much pressure on ourselves, and I don't know where it came from, because I don't feel like my parents had pressure like that on them. They basically just said, if you want to eat, come home at dinner, and let me know where you're going. And we would be gone all day riding bikes or whatever. Yes, we're in a different world now. Like, our world is different, but I don't feel like they had those pressures. My parents never knew my grades until the report card came out and they had to sign it. Unless I told them, but it's just that wasn't even something we talked about. And I was very good in school. Like, I did very well, but it just wasn't stressed all the time. You go to school, you get good grades. I don't know if my parents ever said it, but I know that that's what they expected, and that's what I expected. But I don't think they ever felt that pressure. If I got a paddling at school, and for all of you younger generations, yes, they paddled at school. 2 times in my life, I got a paddling at school. And one time wasn't even right because it was someone else who did something, but I still got it. And my parents never went to the principal to say, she's not the one who should have gotten in trouble. Even though I went to my parents and said it wasn't me, it was this other girl, my parents are always going to stand behind the teachers. And they did. They stood behind the teachers. Now, if that would have happened again, they probably would have confronted the teacher or the principal. But it happened once. And it didn't kill me to get a spanking that I didn't deserve. The other one I did deserve. I was talking when I wasn't supposed to be talking, and the teacher's out of the room. It happened. And my parents didn't throw a fit. They were probably proud that somebody else was telling me to be respectful and follow the rules, because it does take a village. If you feel the pressure of not letting your kids fail and not letting your kids be hurt and fighting their fights all the time, I want to be the voice to release you of that, because that is not your burden to bear. It's not my burden to bear to fight my kids' fights. It's not. Have I before? Yes. I've seen the downside of it. So we all do it. We all put that additional pressure, but I want to be the voice today. If you need to hear it, I am telling you that you are released of that pressure and that stress, because your kids need to take ownership of their behaviors. Your kids need to take ownership of their future. I mean, what if they have a test due? Then let them forget about the test and not study and learn what it feels like, because then they learn, oh, I need to do something different last time. And a conversation we've had in our house, I mean, recently even, is about clothes. If our kids can't bring their clothes down to wash them, then they either find something different to wear or wear dirty clothes. And I will be the first to tell you that I have had 2 younger kids who have gone to school with dirty clothes on numerous occasions. And I will not name names, but one in particular, because we used to do private school, and every Thursday they had to wear chapel wear. My kids hated chapel wear. They hated what they had to wear because they said it was uncomfortable. But one kid in particular would forget to bring, I'm trying not to give any genders of anything, but they would forget to bring their clothes down. And next Thursday comes, wear your chapel clothes. Oh, they're still sitting in the floor from where they were taken off. The next week, same thing happened. So I can't even tell you how many weeks I had one kid wearing dirty clothes every Thursday. And as a parent, it is hard for me to do that because, yes, my first thought is this looks bad on me as a parent. But although this particular kid took a little bit longer to learn it, that kid learned, okay, I'm going to end up being the stinky kid at school if I don't bring my clothes down. So now they remember to bring their clothes down. Like I said, this is the conversation we have had even this week. Is as long as they know that you're going to take care of it and you're not standing by the rules of if you don't bring it down, then you're wearing dirty clothes. If they know that you're not going to follow through with that, then they're never going to do that. They're only going to rise to the expectation level that you're giving them. So if you are giving them the expectation level, and I will go back to schools where the schools now say you can never fail. So even if you don't do your homework, you get a 50. If you don't pass your test, you're going to take it over and over until you pass it. And it's probably the exact same test every time. So after a while, they're going to get what answer should be what. But these are the expectations that are happening in our schools, and it's the expectations that are happening in our families. Unfortunately, it's that we've lowered the bar of what we expect for our kids, and so they're not going to rise above that. They're going to go right there. If they know that you are going to pick up after them when you've told them to clean their room 80 times, then there's no reason for them to clean their room because they know that you're going to do it. Y'all, I'm getting on my soapbox here today. I'm reminded of the scripture that we should train up our children in the way that they should go, and they won't veer from it. So I'm going to leave you with the question. Regardless of your kid's age, you are training them up in a specific way. Are you training them up in the way you want them to go? Do you want them to have to come to you to borrow money because they have a job, but they don't want to work very many hours, and what little money they get, they spend on something silly and then can't afford their car payment? Are you training them up to where they don't know how to wash their clothes, so they have to wait on you to get home from work and wash them for them? Are you training them up to figure it out when they fail, how to make it right? Because whichever way you are training them is the way that they're probably going to go as they get older. And that's all I have for today. Thank you for joining me, and we'll be right back here next week. Thank you for joining My Beautiful Chaos this week. If you have any suggestions for topics or questions you would like answered on an upcoming episode, email me at mybeautifulchaos@email.com. See you next week.